Someone to love, someone to touch, someone to hold.
It's OG 97.9. It's Sasha the Diva. It's our My Voice event, something that we need to be talking about in our community. It is building a healthier community, opioids, in the African American community. Yes, we're going to have a panel discussion today. We need to be talking about this. But I have to introduce my guests today. I'm so excited. I just love them. They are full of information and knowledge. And I always say knowledge is power. First, I've been spending a lot of time with her. Hi, Jill Mays. How you doing?
Hey, Sasha, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. She is the director of Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. How long have you been in that role, Jill?
Well, I'm the director of the Office of Behavioral Health Prevention and Federal Grants at DBHDD. And I've just been in that particular role just a little over a year, but I've been with DBHDD since 2012.
So Sasha, she is so good that they just keep adding responsibilities.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, well,
Jill is
she
a
is
beast.
responsible, and I thank you for all that you're doing to make a change in our community. We also have Tony Sanchez. He is the director of Office of Recovery and Transformation. How you doing, Tony?
I am doing great, Sasha. Thank you for asking and for having me here today.
Not a problem. And guys, later on, for all that know his amazing voice, I'm talking about R&B artist John B. Yes, he is going to be a
Yes.
very special
All right.
guest. And he's going to sing a little bit of music for us and entertain. But he understands what opioids mean in our community. So he's going to share some of his experiences and mental health with what he has had to deal with. All right. So John B will be our very special guest. All right. I want to start with the word opioid. The first time I heard that, I was like, what what is that? Jill, what is opioid?
Opioid is a class of drugs, but sometimes, we have complicated words for things. The simple way for people to understand it, most of the time you would see it, you get prescribed pain killers
Okay.
from your doctor. And opioids are the class of drugs primarily used for pain. Like athletes get it. If you have a car accident, you got back pain, you may get it. If you've had surgery, you may get it. So, um, pain pills is
So
probably the
so
easiest way for
pain
people to
pills,
understand it.
Tony, that is being prescribed by a doctor.
That is correct. But it also takes it in the form of not only pain pills, right? That's part of it. But
Hmm.
on a street level, heroin would be classified as an opiate as well.
Oh, heroin. And that means that that's something that a person is injecting in their body.
Not necessarily. It can be injected, but it also can be inhaled. And it's op- opium can also be smoked. Heroin can be smoked as well.
Right.
Wow.
So there's different routes of ingestion.
Okay. You know, in the African American community, we know that it has impacted our community. How has it impacted our community, these opioids, Jill?
Oh my gosh. Just like with any other drug, you see devastation in families, devastation in individual lives, loss of jobs, loss of children,
Yes.
overdose deaths, so actual loss of family members and friends. One of the huge ways we see it, lots of incarceration for individuals who, rather than being sentenced and sent to prison, probably the better alternative for all of us, in the community is to send that person to the treatment that they need. But African Americans are, criminalized, drug use is criminalized much more in the African American community than in the community at large. So many ways that opioids are devastating our community. And, nationally, opioid use is majorly in the white community,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of deaths from opioids are in the African American community. So
Why
our
is that?
community,
Why is that?
well, it's probably related to healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
folks not just generally not having good health care and being able to take care of their health. So they're more susceptible to deaths, but also lack of response or slow response to overdose incidents in our communities. Again, sometimes law enforcement not seeing that the better option is to send a person to treatment instead
Mm,
of locking them up. Just poverty issues, all kinds of things that contribute to the number of deaths in our community being much higher than in other communities. Would you have anything to add to that, Tony?
Yeah, so we just started talking about opioids within the last 5 years when it hit a certain demographic. I'll just say, you know, when white middle class
yes.
young adults started to die, it became a national issue, and funding became involved. But if we really take a look, you know, the Black community has been impacted by opioid use, by by drug addiction and opioid use in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and then in 80s and 90s it turned to crack. Crack became dominant, and it was a primarily um, Black problem, and I'm doing the air quotes. You know what I'm saying? So it was looked at in a different way. You know what I'm saying? The language that we use. So stigma is a huge part of why people don't receive help. But it wasn't what we were being called, but it was what we as people of color internalized. And we started to believe the very same things, that we were addicts, that we were junkies, that we were hopeless. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And so we started to treat our families that way too. You know, and there was a lot of loss that we haven't talked about. There's still a lot of trauma that has impacted the Black community, and we haven't healed, and we haven't been given the opportunity to heal. So now we switch it over in the 21st century, and it's hitting a different demographic, and now we have a different approach. Now we want to show love. Now
mm,
they're not criminals, they're not addicts, they're sick. You know what I'm saying? But we still haven't created the space for the people who have buried their family members and mourned in shame and in
mm,
guilt, you know what I'm saying, to heal. Because again, we're talking about building healthy communities. So the communities have to get together as a whole. Everybody that comprises that the community comprise, you know what I mean, whatever the community is made out of, you know what I mean, it needs to get
Right.
together. It can't be a certain group of people here and a certain group of people over there trying to heal. We need to heal together. Now, let me be clear, right? So I'm the director for the Office of Recovery Transformation. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. What that means to me, that it'll be 20 years since I haven't used drugs come June
nice.
24th, right? Yeah.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I believe that no one should die from a chronic, treatable health condition, preventable health condition. However, we can't talk about this without talking about the intersectionalities of systemic racism and
Right.
behavioral health. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like even for certain, there are certain health challenges that when we down 911, we know that an ambulance is not coming, the police are coming.
That's
And we
right.
already know what happens when there's interaction, possible outcomes when there's interaction between police and citizens in the community of color. You know what I'm saying? So and this is not to downgrade you know what I mean, like to talk bad about any group of people, police officers, or any of that, but we really need to talk about what's really going on so that we can have the opportunity to heal.
Tony, can I just say that I appreciate your honesty because you're saying what it is. We need to keep it real, what it is. And as you just said, 20 years clean, brother, that just makes me feel good. And as you look at people, you never know their backstory. My son is in jail. My son, opioid, because that's what y'all call it now. My son got 20 years. My son should not be in jail. He needs to be getting the help that he needs. And that's what I'm working on, trying to get him out of jail. But this is what I'm saying, how you don't know what families are going through and what's happening. You just don't know what's happening. And people would be very surprised to hear that on my side. How does a family member know that one of their family members are addicted to something? How do they know? Jill?
Oh, there's so many signs. The clinical signs that we could look at, behavioral signs that we could look at. But mainly when you see a drastic change in a person's personality, say with teenagers or young folks, you see them start hanging out with a different crowd of people. You see them having problems at work. not having money. You may notice, things missing around the house. You may notice a lot of depression. You may notice a lot of anxiety. There's just so much. But what folks can do is, sometimes in our households, we're afraid to ask questions of people. And so things go untouched, uncovered, um, or
We're
stay
afraid to
covered.
ask questions, and we are also afraid to sit down and talk to somebody when we need help. Tony, can you talk about that? Because we won't do that. We think it's crazy to talk to a counselor or call like the Georgia Crisis Line, 800-715-4225. I'm in a situation. I need someone to talk to. Tony?
Yeah, first and foremost, Sasha, I want to thank you for your transparency, and my heart goes out to you and for your family, right? Because
Thank you.
what we know is that it's the addiction just doesn't impact the individual who's using the substance, but it impacts everybody around them. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Their family members, the community, the state. You know what I'm saying? And the opposite of that, recovery, recovery does the same thing. Because of recovery, you know what I'm saying? I'm a homeowner, I'm a family man, I'm gainfully employed, I pay taxes. I used to live better in prison, you know what I'm saying, than I did in the community, right? So going back to the question about what can the family do and what can they um um what can the family do is to see the signs. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Stigma is one of the biggest reasons why we people of color don't get help. You know what I'm saying? To this day, even though behavioral health, you know what I mean, just permeates throughout our family, we still don't talk about it in a healthy way. You know what I'm saying? Whether depressed, what did you eat today? You have clothes on your back. You have no reason to be depressed. Snap out of it. Like if it's something that we can snap out of, but that's what we're taught.
It makes sense. And we need to go back to how mom and daddy and grandmom used to be. They would be all in our business, asking all the questions, all in the room. They knew everything about what we were doing to make sure we wasn't getting into things that we shouldn't be getting into. Jill?
Well, and I was saying but sometimes, families will overlook a problem like grandma or great grandma. They would ask questions about some things, but other things they wouldn't. Because if you ask that questions, then that means we have to do something about it. And if
And
we
I'm
go
not
outside
prepared.
of our house to do something about it, that means our neighbors and
No,
our
my
church
business.
members are going to
Yeah,
know our business. So some
that's
Yes.
right.
things we just
What
don't ask.
happens in
We
his house
suffer
stays
in
in his house.
What
we
they say,
suffer
what
in
happened
silence.
in this house? That's right.
Exactly.
We
Put
all
So
heard
our
that,
business on the
right?
street.
we suffer in silence,
Yeah.
Yes.
unnecessarily. And it was interesting what Tony was talking about, how with addiction, we judge people on the behaviors and not the underlying medical condition. And with other medical conditions, we don't do that. Like
No.
with diabetes, we don't judge people really harshly on their choices of food that they put into their
Right.
body, the same way that we would, judge a person who puts drugs into their body. But we have to start looking at it, like Tony said, as this is a medical condition, and there are behaviors that can exacerbate, but it needs medical treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, you have to look at the person holistically. It's not, just the physical, it's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, and you have to look at the whole person and treat the whole person so that we can become whole and recover and be better, our best selves. So
Yeah.
it's a really complex thing, in our communities, and we have to kind of shift our mindset to some other principles. And I was thinking back in the 90s, I worked at a treatment program at Decatur Hospital here
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta, and they gave me the opportunity to develop a cultural specific program for African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, because I would see folks in treatment every day and they would be getting better, but there were things that they wouldn't bring up in group that I knew were pain points for
Mm-hmm.
them, but they wouldn't bring it up because, and they would tell me, nobody would understand if I
Mm.
talked about that. Nobody would understand if I talked about, being a black man and having to deal with racism. I was thinking about John B's song, they don't know.
Yes, and he will be singing that later, honey.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
but folks wouldn't talk about their trauma
Yeah.
issues in treatment because they felt like their white counterparts wouldn't understand. So I said, we need a space for that.
Coming in, that's Jill Mays. She's the director of Georgia Department of Behavioral Health, Prevention and Federal Grants. We have Tony Sanchez. He's the director of Recovery Transformation. It's OG 97.9. It's our My Voice event, Building a Healthier Community. We're talking about these opioids in the African American community. And a little later on, we're going to be joined by John B. I want to ask you, Tony, what are some of the challenges, you being in public health, that you are dealing with right now with these opioids in our community, far as prevention and treatment and recovery programs?
Again, stigma. I mean, stigma has always been the biggest one. I mean, one of the biggest things that we have to do is advocacy and training, education. You know, we talk about words. Words matter, right? I mean, using words that promote um, inclusivity and actually motivate people to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the, you know, if you recall, when I introduced myself, I called myself, or I address myself as a person in long-term recovery. I'm not an addict, and the reason why is when I'm talking to individuals, the word addict has a negative connotation. You know what I'm saying? Are he still using? Does he have it together? But a person in long-term recovery speaks to the strength. You know what I'm saying? It speaks to overcoming. It speaks to power. So words are really, really important. You know what I'm saying? There's another training that we do, is the science of addiction and recovery, that talks about what's actually going on in the brain. You know what I'm saying? When people are dependent to different substances. You know what I mean? And how the drugs actually hijack the brain, and it explains why you could see. I'm gonna use myself as an example. When I was on parole or probation, my PO used to tell me, "Yo, if you do that one more again, if you do that one more time, yeah, I'm gonna lock you up." And I would do it again. And the perception was that I didn't care about myself or my family. But it wasn't that, Sasha. It was that I was at a place where I could not stop, in spite of any consequences. You know what I'm saying? I was at that place. You know what I mean? And I needed time to learn about what was going on with me, so that I can get some new information and develop a new belief system that I could get better, and that recovery was possible for me as well. But I also needed the time and the support to actually start to practice my wellness. So the things that I believed in early recovery are not the things that I believe now. We're going on 20 years. Does that make sense? You know
it absolutely makes sense.
So one of the things that I believe in is that we can't keep what we have unless we give it away. So it's really, really important to take my lived experience. So I'm a believer, and I'm gonna say that, right? So, you know, everything that happens for a purpose, and that it wasn't even about me. You know what I'm saying? So it was so that I could make it to the other side, and then eventually help somebody else come through.
And that's exactly what you're doing right now.
Being an example of hope that, you know, we can make it. You know, I want to address something really, you know, because again, going back to systemic racism, what we know, we have specific data, right, that shows that 1 in 10 people who start smoking marijuana are gonna go on to bigger and better things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna just put it like that, right? 1 in 10 people. So if you have a Black community of 1 million people who are smoking, that means 100,000 are gonna have a problem. Right? They're going to go on to other drugs, right? But what happens in the Black community, because of poverty, because of a high unemployment rate, because of lack of medical insurance, out of that 100,000 people, there's going to be a large population that won't get early intervention, prevention, or treatment measures that will allow them to get better. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually, you know, get have a life of recovery. You know what I'm saying? It's usually going to be 6, 7, 8 years in when the wheels have fallen off. You know what I'm saying? When they're on 4 flat tires. No, you know what I'm saying? That's when when somebody is going to step in, if they make it that far to receive some help and get into treatment. We have developed a crisis-driven system, and our goal is to create a more recovery-focused system, but it is not equitable in the Black community. You know what I'm saying? The services, the education, just the outreach. You know what I mean? Even with all the monies that are coming down now through specifically for opioids, they're not being distributed in an equitable manner. You know what I mean? And we need to be able to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Because we are still being impacted, and we are still being infected, and just we're dying.
And we're dying every day. 130 people are dying every single day. We have a Georgia crisis line that you can call if you're listening to us right now, 800-715-4225. It's our My Voice event, building a healthier community, the opioids in our African-American community. Jill, what else is it that we need to know about opioids in the African-American community that's not being put out by the media? What do we not know?
We've realized that the treatment system that we have now, it wasn't designed with us in mind.
Absolutely not.
And so but we are going back now across the country. There are, efforts looking at cultural diversity, equity, inclusion. How do we need to change the system? And in some places, we're gonna have to tear down pieces of that system, reformulate it, and build it back up.
Right.
One of the things is when people of color go to treatment centers, how often do they get to see doctors, nurses, techs who are treating them, who look like them?
Yeah.
I worked in a treatment facility before, and when the African American patients got to see people of color other than me, and I was just an intern when I started, was when we went to the cafeteria for lunch and dinner. And it can't be like that. We need to have more professionals. But then that goes back to, college, and how so many people of color don't have the opportunity to go to college. So then they can't become counselors, they can't become doctors, they can't become nurses, because the system isn't designed, or wasn't designed initially to support those things. But I'm so excited that there are efforts across the country, with all of the federal dollars that are coming down. They're saying, we need you. If you want our money, you have to look at these health disparities and let us know what you're doing to address them. And here at DBHDD, I was thinking when Tony was talking about the children and the gateway, the marijuana and the cigarettes, how our prevention programs, we look at, what do we need to do to this campaign to help it to reach people of color and communities of color? And, sometimes we may have the same campaign with 3 or 4, different little twists on it to make sure that we're reaching people where they are. So, one of the biggest things to remember, the system wasn't built for us, but we need it. But we have to be at the table when the conversations happen to decide what needs to change and how we can improve it.
I will say this right now, though. Having Jill and Tony, you're at the table. You're helping to get the information out. You're making changes. You're saving our lives. So you are at the table, because like you just said, Jill, so many years ago, you just an intern. None of us was there. And as you said, this wasn't for us, but we are making changes. So that's the blessing right there. It's 800 it's 800-715-4225 is our Georgia crisis line. It's our My Voice event, building a healthier community. And we're getting ready to spend some time with John B. As I said, everybody has a story of what has happened in their immediate families, their surroundings, this opioid situation to mental health. And John B is getting ready to share some of those experiences. Jill, your last words, honey?
I would say I'm proud to be, a woman of color, and to be a part of a community that has this rich history of overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
And when I look at the opioid crisis, and other things that are impacting our community, disproportionately, I remind myself, of what we've overcome.
Yes.
Yeah, we overcame slavery. We overcame Jim Crow. We overcame, you know,
So
for
much.
the
And we're
last 4 years of
still
of a
working.
whole lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but we overcame, and we will together, get through this with the community of people of color, and then those who are allies and who support people of color. We're gonna get through this. I have no doubt in my mind. But we got to stay on task. We got to recognize what the problem is, and we all got to be willing to get in there and roll our sleeves up. But we got a history of coming through things, so it's gonna happen.
Right.
Tony, your last words?
I got two things. You know, I mean, we have to stop blaming the black community or the community of color as perpetrators of their own fate. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't introduce an illness or virus or disease into a community and then blame the people for getting sick without any previous knowledge or help to combat that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about in the crack era. Like I didn't know anybody who had boats or airplanes were bringing it in, but our communities were saturated,
With it.
with this substance. You know what I'm saying? And when it overtook, our communities, you know what I mean, we were blamed, and called, some just nasty things like super predators and stuff like that. So just being cognizant of that, you know what I'm saying? Then the other piece is that as a black man, as a man of color, I can't think of a time when we were really given the opportunity to feel and express our feelings. You know what I'm saying? We in America, growing up, we've been emasculated in so many different ways that we hold on to the little bit of power that we think that we have. I'm talking about that as a man of color. So just to think that, again, just to think that we're going to create ways to address the black community without first doing the fundamental work to create some trust and build some relationships so that people can actually be their authentic selves is paramount. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we have never been given the opportunity to feel and express our feelings. Even at growing up on the Ave, on the street, you know what I mean? We were always competing for the same thing. You know what I mean? And the underlying current, the underlying emotion, you know what I'm saying, that was felt. And I didn't understand that then growing up, but I do now, was fear. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you talk to a population that don't even believe that they're going to be here or going to, you know what I mean, going to live to be 21 or 25? You understand what I'm saying? Like, so why be involved? None of that stuff matters. So how do we create opportunities to change the way that our youth are thinking, so that they can believe, so that they can have hope, that essential ingredient, to believe that something can and will get better. And this is why I need to do this. Because if we don't have that, you know what I mean, change is never gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not.
And I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Sasha, because this is not your first time being in this space with us, and using your platform and your voice and your influence to educate more and more people about what's going on. And I want to encourage other people who are listening. You may not have a mic like Sasha, but you have influence. You got a circle of people that will listen to you. And if we all put our voices together in this village, change is going to happen. But it takes a village.
Girl, don't have me start singing "A Change Is Gonna Come," okay? Don't have me sing no Sam Cooke up in here.
Sing it, girl.
Jill Mays is the director of DBHDD, Office of Behavioral Health Prevention and Federal Grants. Tony Sanchez from New York, director of DBHDD, Office of Recovery and Transformation. Guys, I'm getting ready to have a one-on-one with John B. Y'all gonna stick around with me?
All right.
I love it. And don't forget, we have a crisis number that's always available to you, 800-715-4225.
Thanks, Sasha.
Thank you, Sasha.
97.9, My Voice, building a healthier community, opioids in the African American community, presented by the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. We just spent some time with Jill and Tony, but now, woo, let me just tell you about this superstar. His name is John B. That's all I got to say. When I say he puts out music that we all love, women lose their mind over this man. He is a writer, he is a producer, and other than that, he is just a good man with a great soul. Ladies and gentlemen, John B. Hey, John.
Sasha, so good to be with you. Good to see you.
It's nice to see you again. I always like to share positive stories, people being in the entertainment industry, and you have your fans. One thing, John, about you, you are really amazing with your fans. You're always giving back and taking the time to take a picture and sign an autograph or answer a question. I just want to applaud you for that because that really makes a difference, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sis. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well,
I love what I do. I'm so blessed to do what I do.
John, I can't even believe it's been a year with COVID and we've been in the house. How have you and your family been dealing with it?
It's been like I would say like the big reset for
Hmm.
us. I've never stopped working since I started in the music industry. There would be little, here and there breaks that I would take through the years in terms of like, but it was never real breaks because I was always recording during the process of taking the break. So just in terms of putting music in my career to the side for a second, I've
Hmm.
never done that since I started. Even with babies and getting married and all that, still continue to do the grind. And this has been sort of a forced issue in a sense for everyone. It was like the man upstairs and the powers that be, said, everybody go take a seat right now, take a break right now. I need you to sit down and just quiet yourself. And that's what I've taken from all of this is really for the first time, I would say that I can ever remember having those moments where I could just get in my car and drive down to the nearest spring or a little river kind of place, a quiet little stream, and just take a walk and
Mm.
just have that moment to myself for a cool, however long I need to be until I gotta go back to reality. And you know what? And that's the thing is just having the freedom to do that is really, I think, is the beautiful thing. And of course, seeing my family as much as I am seeing them every day. The kids are homeschooled. So it's really brought us all closer together as a unit, as a family unit. And I'm getting my album done, which is,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's everything. It's everything I really needed and wanted in terms of having the actual time and a headspace to hear myself think. Because me, I don't stop grinding when it comes to if the world is open, I'm all around that mug. I'm going to state to state. You know what I mean? Trying to get the music out, and I love the fact that people want to hear it. So it's like I have to go to you, and if you're requesting me and my presence in your town, I gotta get there somehow. And this has been the first time we've taken this long of a break, so it feels really like I want to get back out there.
Right. It is our OG 97.9, My Voice, building a healthier community, opioids in the African American community. We've got John B with us. John, when you were traveling the world, how were you dealing with stress?
Hmm.
Because it comes with it. How did you
Yeah.
deal with that?
I will tell you, man, we're speaking of, substance abuse and everything like that. Alcohol is way too prevalent, you know what I mean, in the hallways of what I do, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, from the clubs to the theaters to to the restaurants. I mean, every event that I do is alcohol
Hmm.
oriented. So alcohol for me has always been sort of like the go-to to sort of like settle the nerves, and if you're nervous before a show, that was, but it's far too much of a accepted, I feel like an accepted go-to in terms of out of all of the things you could take into your body, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
We've welcomed alcohol in our culture, in our daily lives, in terms of business and all of that, as the acceptable thing, when really I feel like it's just the opposite. I think it's the last thing you should probably do in terms of, if you're trying to help yourself from feeling bad, that's like the last thing, because it's a depressant. That's what people don't understand. And I'm speaking to myself because I'm out there in the world dealing with the world just like everybody else, right along with everybody else. And so this first, year of being home has really been the first time I feel like it's been a forced issue in
Mhm.
terms of sobriety, because I'm not the type of guy to be at home with my kids and my wife not in the same headspace as I am. Like I don't want to be somewhere that they're not, in a sense. And I'm not that guy anymore that kind of goes to the studio and kind of turns up and does
Mhm.
my tracks anymore. I used to be that guy, but with a family, it all changed, So, but a year of doing this really consistently in terms of like taking walks, drinking
Right.
more water, um, taking my vitamins in the morning, working
Yeah.
out. And I'm not the big like physical workout guy, like in terms of like, oh, I gotta have big muscles or I don't feel like a man. Like I'd rather work my mental muscles in terms of like really being present in the day. And like sometimes I haven't even made music this quarantine because I'm more worried about taking the time to center myself and push out all of those negative energies that I've sort of absorbed, uh and not because I wanted to. It's just because that's what sometimes, that's what's going to happen in life. You're going to absorb some things that you want to shake off sometimes, and with all the news and all of that going
Oh,
around,
yes.
it's a lot that we have to shake off right now. So yeah, a good walk will help you. You know what I mean?
That's
Like taking
right.
care of yourself will help you. Staying abstinent from the alcohol and from the drugs and all that, man, will definitely help you slow your mind down. Because that's the thing. If you're trying to slow your mind down by taking some external source, it's not gonna. You mean well. You know what I mean? Like we mean well. Our intentions are right. So you're not wrong for trying to medicate yourself,
Mm.
but the way that you're doing it is wrong.
I love that you talked about how important it is with self care, just taking that walk, eating a little bit better. Let's get some rest is so important. But so
Mm,
many people need to be inspired today.
mm.
It is just so much going on in our world. What would you say to help inspire and uplift people that are going through challenges right now?
I would say find a way right now in this time that we have of rest.
Mhm.
Now, not everybody has the same situation as me. Some have to still go to work right now. Some still have to do a lot of things that they don't necessarily want to do. And they're like, oh yeah, that's good. That's good and easy for you to do because you get to stay home right now. So they're not hearing me. But I'm trying to speak to everyone in the sense of like, it doesn't matter what your calling is right now and what you have to do. What we all have to do right now is take this time as like a giant reset time to be able to quiet your mind down somehow after work, after you've done, or maybe even before work, especially before work. The first thing you can do when you wake up in the morning is take like 10 minutes of just silent time. I mean,
Mm.
just absolute silence. And I'm not even talking about praying. I'm not even
Quiet.
talking about having like thoughts in your mind that even matter. You're not thinking about yesterday. You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about nothing. It's like it's like thought ceases and there's just darkness. And if you can just be in that stillness for 10 minutes of your day in the morning, you watch how the rest of your day is going to transpire in terms of the way that your mind is able to take on the things that you have to do. It's like I tried it for myself, and I'm honestly, I definitely see the difference in terms of my patience during the day. Like I'm
Mhm.
kind of a little more cognitive of what's going on. I mean,
I'm
you
with you on
watch.
that, John, because I did what you said. I went in my backyard one time recently in the pandemic and went back there and said, Lord, I have not ever sat back here for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm looking at the trees. I could hear the birds. I was like,
It's
ooh,
almost
it sounds
it's
so
almost like it's almost
beautiful.
odd to do, right? Because we're so busy.
We're so
People don't
busy.
understand
We
we are
can't
so
stop.
yeah, yeah. Good
It
for you.
feels good
Good
to
for you.
stop. And I'm doing what you do, what you said. I get up in the morning, I go outside with my coffee, and
Yeah,
I'm just
yes,
and
coffee
I'm
drinker. I
still.
love coffee.
I'm
I
just
love coffee.
still, and then you
Yeah.
get in tune with your maker. Yes,
Mhm.
child, it is OG 97.9. It's my voice, building a healthier community, opioids in the African American community. John, has anyone in your circle been affected by opioids? And what has that experience been for them? And were you able to help them?
Yeah. Mm. Well, I will tell you that with that being asked, I mean, you asking me that, I will say that not only that I had experience myself with opioids, but I've also had friends that have had experience with opioids. And my experience was actually involuntarily kind of one of those things where I had a lot of dental work done on my my teeth early on, a lot of root canals and whatnot. I guess I had bad teeth
Mm-hmm.
and early on, and so I would get the Vicodin basically as
Oh,
the pain medicine, and you know what I mean, because this was like really bad pain to be able to like have jaw surgery and all this, like they were drilling into your teeth. It's a lot.
yeah.
So like it's something Tylenol that ain't gonna fix.
No,
Tylenol,
right.
you know what I mean?
Or the BC
So
powder. It's
you
not
do,
working.
you know what I mean? So like the you know the what I was trying to do was medicate and just take away the pain. And then the consistency of taking that, you can form a sort of like a sense of, oh, this is different. This is a different headspace.
Mm,
This is a different kind of peace.
yeah, this
But
feel
the thing that you
good.
don't, but the, yeah, this, but the thing that you don't realize is that it's artificial peace.
What made you realize, oh, yeah, this is a good feeling and I want some more of this?
Mhm.
How did you stop you from becoming an addict?
Well, my way of stopping was not being able to get it, first of all, because I ran out of dentistry work to get
Okay.
done.
So no more prescriptions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no more prescriptions. And then also, I think what really did it for me is that the first picture that I ever saw myself really kind of up
Okay.
was uh, was a picture that I never wanted to see myself like that again.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, I have to entertain still. You know, see, what happened was my wife got pregnant for the first with our first child, and the switch over from being entertainer guy who could do whatever I want, whenever I want, I got the, you know what I
With
mean? I got
whomever
the
I
power.
want. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You switch over from that guy to being the father who's supposed to be the provider and the
Yes.
security maker, you know what I mean? And the one who's supposed to say, no, baby, it's gonna be all right, I got you. You know, to actually be that dude was a, you know, I'm not gonna say it was easy, even though I was that man and I am that man for her. To switch out of being, you know, the John B that I was used to being wasn't an easy thing. And curving all of those things, man, you know, from the ladies to the booze to the, you know, to the poisons I was taking, you know what I mean? I had to really curve all that in order to be there for her and to get ready to be there for my daughter to be, you know? And that,
Absolutely, because you would never want to see your daughter doing the same thing that you were
no.
doing. Can you imagine that, John?
And we don't have the type of relationship, my daughters and I, where we hide things from our kids. They know about every nuance of our lives, you know, where have we been too. You know, there's not a
Okay.
lot that we hide from our children in terms of, are they ready to hear this part of like about why they shouldn't do something. I think my daughter's so mature at 7 years old, she's able to to know why certain things are not appropriate for her to listen to. Why, you know what I mean? And if she does hear it, why it just needs to go in the ear and out the other, because, you know what I mean, that's not for you. And it's just a beautiful thing to be a father and to be in the position to show my kids something and tell them, hey, you know, if anybody offers you this, absolutely, you know, and just that's the thing. And they're both such great kids, man. I think I've done a really great job. Both my wife and I have done a really great job with our kids.
How old
And
are
it's
your
been something
babies?
that they're 13 and 7.
Oh, that's so sweet. That is
Both
beautiful.
girls, both ladies. So lots of you know, sparkles and and doing hair
You're
and makeup.
blushing as you're
All that.
talking
Yeah,
about your girls, okay? I'm just telling you that right now, John.
yeah, man. No, it'll make a real man out of you. You know what I mean? Raising ladies, because then I think is what we have to, that realization we have to make as men.
Hmm.
Um, that like, wow, this is where all the love comes from. This is where
Yep.
all your songs come from. This is,
Yep.
you know, these beautiful beings I get to wake up to every single day, man.
Oh,
It's something. And then you as well, Sasha. I mean, you know, thank you so much for having me today. What a wonderful thing to live up to, and what a perfectly in sync thing for me to fall into. Being that I'm in this headspace, and I would love to
yeah.
share this headspace with folks. And I was just thinking to myself when I was on my walk yesterday, I can't wait to have this conversation with you, because the
Oh.
questions and everything rings so, you know, true and close to, you know, me and my walk. So
John, I really love you and your family. You really touched me on a couple of things. Just the man that you have become. Just know that how you've changed your life and what you're doing for your girls. You just don't know what an impact that is. As my father, I am his child. Okay. And everything that
yeah.
I am is what he instilled in me. And I hear and see that in you. Just know that what you're doing will have a huge influence on your girls. So I just want to thank you for that. The next thing is that since
Thank
you've
you.
been home, what have you really learned about yourself? I mean, like I learned, like, girl, you don't need them eyelashes. Take them lashes on. Girl, go and take them high heel shoes on. Keep them flip flops on. Now I put the lashes on for you today, okay?
You look beautiful. Yes, yes,
What
yes.
have you learned about yourself, or even your wife said, child?
um, I've really reconnected, I think, grounded myself. Like when you take your shoes off and you're at the beach and you just put your feet in the sand, you sink your feet in the sand, you feel the
Yes.
sand get between your toes. That's how I'm getting with my life right now. I'm just sinking my feet in deep, man. And it's like I feel grounded in a sense of like the things that used to make me nervous
Mhm.
about being transparent, about expressing myself in certain ways. And that's why I sort of didn't really jump to every instance where I could promote myself or I could talk about myself in that sense. It's like now I understand why it's so important to be transparent right now and to communicate. But it's been over this quarantine that I've gotten the chance to do so, you know, to have discussions like we're having today, you know what I mean? And open up and just be the man instead of the entertainer.
That's right. Be real.
That's I think what, yeah, you know, and it wasn't so much that I wasn't being real before. It was just I think that there's a different we're talking about a different aspect of life that I think doesn't get talked about enough, you know, and it's so wonderful to talk about something else besides my career and my, you know, the things that I've done and things like that. It can get a
Right.
little bit monotonous after a while, even though I'm so blessed to have that story and I'm so
Right.
proud of that story. I feel like it can overshadow a lot of the things that are breakthroughs that are happening right now that I'm so proud of, you know, or songs that I may have just released that y'all don't know about because, you know, I didn't even have the time to talk about it because we talked about like everything I did 25 years ago, you know.
Right. Because we're
It,
still stuck back there.
you
Right.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
wonderful to be able to appreciate myself in a different way now. The other day, my man Donnell Jones was spitting some knowledge. He was like, "Man, have you taken your time today to just tell yourself that you love yourself. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, now we see and see,
Right.
that's why we brothers right there. That's why we do a record like Understand together, which is my latest record that if you haven't heard it, check it out. It's called
Cool.
Understand. It's
Okay.
featuring Donnell Jones,
Ooh.
yours truly, and Donnell Jones. And I wrote and produced it, and it was one of those things where the song is really speaking about exactly what we're talking about. It's about living up to your better
Mm-hmm.
self. You know what I mean? And even if you think you've seen the best that you have to give, you ain't seen nothing yet until you give
Wow.
it a
Now you know
chance.
you got to send it to me, okay? You know
Oh
you got
no,
to
man.
send it to me so
You
we
can
can play.
download it right now on
Oh, okay. 'Cause I'm
like,
just saying.
you gotta get that. Yeah, man. You gotta most definitely check it out right now. Don't wait, but I will send you a copy,
Okay.
absolutely.
And when
Yeah.
you do the video, I want to be in the video.
The video
Anywho,
is the video is done. You can check the video out as well. Donnell came and blessed me, man. He came down to LA and blessed me, and
that's
he's in the
nice.
video as well. So that was really wonderful, man. And big up Donnell Jones, man. Keep doing your thing. He got an album out as well. That is amazing too. You got to check it out, man.
I did, and I had him on the show
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, and it was fabulous. So I love him. Okay. John, congratulations on your new music. Congratulations on everything is going great with your family. I'm happy that you have
Thank
peace. You still have this beautiful smile. And before you
you.
grace us with a
Appreciate you.
fabulous performance, okay? Yay! Any last thing, anything that you want to say to everybody?
Yes. Well, hi everyone. I'm John B, and I'd like to say that this is a reminder to all Georgians, everyone else watching, that it's okay to talk about, what's going on in your life. It's okay to talk about, you know, the real human problems that we have, going on around the world, that all of us, can face from time to time, whether it be mental, whether it be uh, substance abuse. Um, you got to find a way to be able to express yourself to someone out there, reach out to somebody, and don't be afraid, because we all can relate, because this is not something that is specific to any type of human experience. So yeah, if you need help, definitely follow DBHDD on Facebook and visit Opioidresponse.info to learn more about preventing substance abuse, misuse, and to take care of your mental health during this time.
Wow.
Stay safe out there, everybody.
Yeah, I love it. And we have an 800 number, 800-715-4225. Jill Mays and Tony Sanchez is going to join us in a few. But this is how you're going to help my mental health. I need you sing. I need you sing me something. That's what I need right
All
now.
right.
So let me get myself together and sit back. And I want to hear someone
I
to
got
love. You
I
got
got
me? Okay, fine.
I got you. Yeah. Don't even like to think about it. I don't know what I'd do without it. I don't even know I live and I breathe for your love. 'Cause baby, you came to me in my time of need. When I needed you, you were there for me. And baby, the love from you is what got me through. It's because of you I'm still able to keep giving my heart again. You gave me someone to love, someone to touch, someone to hold, someone to know. You gave me someone to love, someone to touch, someone to hold, someone to know.
Okay, excuse me. John, that was amazing. Before we wrap this up, thank you so much. It is my voice building a healthier community, opioids in the African American community. with my friend John B., being presented by the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disability. Jill Mays, where are you, baby? Any last words from you and anything you want to say to John B. before we say bye-bye?
Hey, John. Thank you so much for just being here in the space with us today. And although they don't know, it's probably my favorite song of yours. I'm really glad that you sang Someone to Love, because I think it was a perfect way to tie this whole day together, because I think those are powerful words. Also, for people in love, but for people in recovery as well. You know, when I needed you, you were there for me. The love from
Yes.
you is what got me through. It's because of you I was able to give my heart away. And
Mm.
I think that that just says a lot about our community and what we can all do to pull together to help those who are in trouble, who need us to reach out to let them know that they're forgotten, and that we're here for them. So thank you so much for everything you did for us today. It was just great being here with you.
She's
Oh,
showing off, showing you she know all the words to your song, just so you
thank you,
know.
sis. I love you. Thank you.
Tony Sanchez, any words for my friend John B?
Thank you so much, man, for just talking about
Tony,
even being a
thank you,
man,
my brother.
your transition from entertainer to husband to father, and how important that is. We, especially people of color, we need to hear that. You know what I'm saying? That we can be men and head of our households, and sometimes it's making those type of decisions of clarity. You know what I'm saying? And what's important to us that really, really matters. So thank you for being an example and a leader in that way.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And
Tony,
that was
thank you.
Tony Sanchez. He's the
Thank you
director
so much.
of DBHDD, Office of Recovery Transformation. That's my friend Jill Mays. She's the director of Office of Behavioral Health, Prevention, and Federal Grants. He is a superstar, R&B superstar, John B. And as you know, this is our community, our African American community. Building a healthier community, we have to get rid of these opioids in our community. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. We're OG 97.9. It's my voice. And I'm your girl, Sasha the Diva. Love you.
Sasha! Sasha!